Hello and welcome to another edition of the Door 14 Hockey Podcast. I'm your host Marty alongside John
Hello.
and Aaron.
Hi.
There's two of us and you forgot who we were.
You know what? I'm so used to doing the intro with Dave first, and I'm just so stuck in my ways that whenever because Dave's not here, it kind of threw me today.
Dave's not here, man.
Dave's not here. What is that from? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Hello. How are you both doing? John, how are you?
Good.
Well, unless you
Wow, I managed to say that without even moving my lips.
Exactly. John, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks. Finally out of COVID protocol today.
I was just about to say we are a week late, or we're a week behind on our episode, and we should have been scheduled to have an episode out last week, but between you getting COVID and falling ill from COVID, and me with some kind of mysterious 24-hour illness of some description, we decided to postpone it and move back a week. So yeah.
Did you get out for any of the sun, Marty? Like we had this kind of mini nice sunny weekend.
Is it me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was out the whole weekend. I wasn't in the house at all. I think the whole weekend. Yep, both days.
I saw my wife was like bullying John on Twitter.
She's trolling. Absolute expert trolling.
Yeah.
I missed every single good weather day that we had from a week past Sunday, and I went out today and it rained and it was 2 degrees.
It rained? Oh, it did rain?
Yep.
It did rain.
It did rain today.
And Aaron,
The first time I got COVID, man, it was back last July, and that was the week that we had the really insanely good weather. So it was like the week that we had like 30 odd degrees, and there was me with the fever, like with the not the like with COVID back then. It was like no taste, no smell, the mad fever, and just in bed not doing anything for a week. And with that heat, it was not fun.
I can imagine. Yep, but even thankfully I didn't lose my sense of taste, didn't lose my sense of smell. Although with some of the food that my father-in-law was sending up for me, I kind of wish I had. But yeah, I was stuck in a room that basically I can more or less touch the two walls while I'm sitting in the middle of the room, and basically didn't leave the first floor of the house for 10 days. Like, it was brutal.
Rough.
So are we sponsored by Greg's?
At this point, I think we're sponsored by COVID, the amount we've talked about at this point. But no, we're not sponsored by Greg's. There is a story to go with this. If my brother-in-law Kalen is watching, he will be very angry with me right now for wearing this. But tough, you left it. It's mine now.
We should also explain that for those who aren't watching the visual podcast, shall we say, on YouTube, John has turned up tonight for our podcast recording, rocking a Greg's hoodie. I genuinely was surprised whenever I found out where the hoodie came from. I just thought, wow, Greg's are selling their own merchandise.
It's an interesting career change, isn't it? It's an interesting career change.
Yeah.
We should probably say, in the fairness of balance, that other sausage rolls are available.
I was going to say, is it like Boojum? You buy 10 sausage rolls, you get a free hoodie?
I wish. If it was just 10 sausage rolls. Imagine the size of me. I would have a full wardrobe.
Aaron, how have you been doing?
I'm doing good. I got to enjoy that weather and out in the garden and just loving life. That was it. And again, apologies to John for my wife trolling him on Twitter.
Yeah, I this weekend was one of those weekends with I was at the game on Friday with Dave joined me for the game on Friday. There was a game in the Odyssey on Friday night, or in the SSC on Friday night, and then the game on Saturday night. And the SSC was not a mad dash because of obviously the weather was that good, but it was one of those ones where unfortunately because the weather was so good, my wife was all like, "Do you remember the things we've been putting off in the backyard?" And I was like, "Oh no, I'm gonna power hose this weekend, aren't I?" So yeah,
That's such a middle-aged thing. It's so middle-aged. It's like, what did you do with that good weather? Well, I did a bit of power hosing.
Yeah. Well, sure. I was asking you for that. What was it called? A scraper for my. I want to take care of my lawn.
You wanted a scarifier. No, okay.
Scarifier. That's what I wanted.
Welcome along to the Door 14 Turf Maintenance Podcast.
Did you not have a turf podcast in work?
No,
was that not a thing?
No, I did a video that was about bogs, okay? And by bogs, I mean peatland, I didn't have a toilet podcast or a toilet YouTube channel. Now, if you want toilet content, you want to go to my brother-in-law's Rate That Lou on Instagram. And he does do some excellent toilet reviews.
No way. Is that true?
Yeah. We're totally going down the rabbit hole here. We are gonna talk about hockey at some point.
Still.
No. Hold on. We have to talk about Rate That Lou. This is a real thing.
No. Oh yeah. Rate That Lou on Instagram is my brother-in-law Kalen, who normally when he's got a couple of drinks in him, to be fair, will take photos of toilets, be that like the urinal or the overall ambience, and he gives them a rating.
Love it.
On how nice they were, how poor they were, how the products that were available were. So yeah, it's well worth a look.
I'm going to claim, if Dave was here, he would agree with me that I got copyrighted. I was going to copyright this idea back in about 2009, I want to say. Whenever we were in Nottingham, we used to do for about 2 or 3 years in a row. Me and Dave and Dave's brother Andy used to do the fly in and fly back out again into Nottingham for the Belfast Giants Nottingham games. So we used to just go in, get a flight in, didn't get a hotel, just stayed up all night drinking. Went back to the airport and I flew back home the next morning at like 6 o'clock in the morning. And
so
that was
just
to
to prove it, there it is there. Rate That
He's
Lou
just got one more follower
on Instagram.
Wow. And I had said something like this would be really handy in Nottingham, especially when you don't have a hotel room, because you're like, where's the best toilets? You know,
Not Nottingham. Not the toilet experience I have in Nottingham. No.
Okay.
That's a story for another time though.
Let's move on to our normal scheduled stuff that we usually go for in this
Our
podcast.
hugely informative podcast about ice hockey.
Guys, let's start as we always do, and let's do a quick roundup of the standings across the leagues, both in the Elite Ice Hockey League as well as the NHL across the pond. Starting first in the Premier Sports Elite Ice Hockey League, sitting in first place is the Belfast Giants with 48 games played and 76 points. Sheffield Steelers are in second with 46 games played and 72 points. Cardiff are in third with 48 games played and 64 points. Followed by Nottingham in fourth, 47 games played, 51 points. Coventry are fifth with 46 games played, 44 points. Glasgow Clan are in sixth with 47 games played, 44 points. Dundee Stars in seventh with 45 games played, 43 points. Guildford in eighth with 47 games played and 42 points. And propping up the league, similar to the last episode, Manchester in ninth and Flyers in 10th. Let's start at the top of the league. Let's look at that important run-in. We are 2 weeks, I want to say, 3 weeks left of the current league. 3 weeks. It's coming down to a very tight number of games. Obviously, Belfast, Sheffield, and Cardiff have already cemented their place into the playoff final weekend, not playoff final weekend. Sorry, the playoff quarterfinals. But at the moment, the Belfast Giants and the Sheffield Steelers are still sitting top of the league, fighting it out for first place. Giants are sitting there at the moment with 48 games played and 76 points, which is 4 points clear of the Sheffield Steelers. However, the Sheffield Steelers have 2 games still to play. They've only played 46. So obviously, if it all goes well for Sheffield in Sheffield's favour, that would bring them tie. If they win those 2 games, that would bring them tie with Belfast Giants. Although that I guess it depends on the run-in. We do have 3 games still to be played between Belfast and Sheffield. We should mention that we have a double header in Sheffield next weekend. That'll be the 8th and 9th of April, I believe, if I got my dates correct. And then we have a home game against the Sheffield Steelers on the final weekend of the season as well. The Belfast Giants will face off in the SSC Arena against the Sheffield Steelers.
You were close with the dates. It's the 9th and 10th.
9th and 10th, there we go. And it was that weekend anyway. I have family flying in on the 8th, that's what it is. So that's why I kind of remember that date.
Well, you can tell them you're busy. And you'll be watching the Sheffield Steelers webcast.
Oh, webcast, I know, exactly. I know. My wife's dad is turning 75 on the Saturday night, so I don't think I can watch the game.
Well, that's all right. He turns 76 next year.
So, John, let's go to you first. We have, obviously, it's still a very exciting, tight race there at the top of the league, Giants and Steelers. What's your thoughts in terms of the running? As I mentioned, 3 games still to play between the two of them. That'll be the big decider.
Like without a doubt, like you look at the run-ins for each team. So Sheffield and Belfast both have 3 games against each other. The rest of the fixtures, Sheffield have a lot of games against Manchester. Sorry, yeah, they have 3 games against Manchester still to play. They do have a game against Nottingham. Now, if Nottingham can play the way that they did here last weekend on Friday, then they could do us a massive favour by taking 2 points. Potentially, I would even take 1 point at this point if they could get an overtime win and take something from the Steelers. That would be fantastic and put us back in the driving seat as far as it goes. The Giants, when you look at their fixtures, obviously again with the 3 against Sheffield, but we only have 3 other games. We have Glasgow coming up this weekend here. We have Guildford a couple of days later at home as well, I think on the Sunday, I think that is.
Mm-hmm.
And then other than the Sheffield games, which come one after another, we've got Coventry, the last game of the season. Now, I didn't want to bring this up, but remember when we weren't on the ice and we won the Elite League because Coventry won a game?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I want to point out that something I've noticed is that Sheffield aren't playing on that day and very likely might be sitting in a hotel somewhere while we play the Coventry Blaze.
Why, John? Why?
I mean, look,
Why?
the other way that we see it is Coventry won a game and we won the league. Now we win a game against Coventry and win the league. But to be fair, the way that the point split's going to be, Sheffield are currently winning their game tonight against Manchester. One of their multiple games against Manchester. It's 1-0 in the second period. So Manchester are keeping them close, but it's not points I would expect Sheffield to drop out of. It's down to the wire, and it's gonna. There's no way getting around it. It's gonna come down to those 3 games. Whoever takes 4 points, if not 6 points, probably walks the league.
Aaron, obviously we've talked there about obviously these important 3 games that we've got coming up. Obviously we've got the double header in Sheffield. It's a tough place to go to and hopefully bring away the 4 points. But do you imagine it might come down to that last Saturday, that last final head-to-head between Belfast and Sheffield?
Like, you kind of hope that it doesn't. But how awesome of the tense ending to the season would it be? I know you want to walk away from the winning the league like before that, but having that last weekend being the decider, that's filmmaking stuff right there.
I mean, that's the opportunity to know that you've. Let's say, for example, we take the double header in Sheffield, we take the first win, and then let's say it ends up being an overtime win or something. Then there's a lot riding on that game in Belfast. Let's say that we win that. With other results, there's a potential that that's an on-the-ice league win at that point. Say Sheffield managed to drop points against Nottingham. You could be looking at a scenario where that's an on-the-ice win at home in the SSE. That's massive. And I'd like to, like Aaron says, I'd love to have it tied up long before then. But given that scenario, there's no better way of winning a trophy. We just saw it and we're going to talk about it. But there's no better way to win a trophy than on the ice.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think for the Belfast Giants fans, I don't know if it's just that it's been one of those things over the last number of years where the Belfast Giants have won the league title, that it tends to be either one in a bar, one in a bar. Obviously the year where it was won, whenever the players and the fans were in a certain bar within Nottingham, they were there whenever they won.
That's a family restaurant. I'll have you know.
Restaurant. It is indeed. They sell really good chicken wings.
They really do.
And obviously then the end of season dinner, which was the last one. Obviously again in a bar, this Giants win, so they do have a history of it. But it would be nice to see it actually happen where we actually
on the ice
and a home ice as well, which we haven't seen in a while. So let's hope for that. Let's look
having a repeat of what happened. I know that we're probably going to talk about it soon, but what happened last, like, the atmosphere was insane. It was amazing.
Spoilers.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Guys, let's just look quickly just at the other standings just within the league, just to get your thoughts and opinions. Obviously the mid-table is still being hotly contended. Well, I suppose it's the distance between Cardiff and say Nottingham, that sort of thing, is quite a big distance, and then the distance between Nottingham and Coventry at the moment is quite a big distance as well. But I mean, does it look like that middle part of the table, that middle fixture part, is kind of settled, apart from obviously maybe Coventry, Glasgow and Stars? Does it look like the teams are kind of set in terms of who's going through to the playoff quarterfinals, would you say, John?
Look, there's only one thing that's a complete certainty, and that's that Fife Flyers will not be making playoffs. They had one mathematical chance at making playoffs, and they had to win. I think it was in Manchester last weekend, and they didn't, so they won't. They're locked out. They're currently 5 points behind Manchester on the same number of games played, and the only team who's played less games than them are Dundee and Coventry, who are a long way ahead of them. They're not catching them. So 3 weekends time, Fife season is over. They've probably already booked the flights for the players at this point. You look at Manchester though. That Manchester, Guildford, and throw Dundee into that as well, although they do have a couple of games in hand. That fight for 8th is big. And you talk about big games. I talked about Sheffield, they're running, and a lot of games against Manchester. Those games for Manchester are massive, because if they can come away taking points from the league leaders across the last half dozen games that they've got this season, that puts them in a position that if Guildford slip up, they could very easily slip into that 8th position. So don't count out Manchester right yet, because although they've got big opposition, these are big points for them, and they could do us a massive favour with a couple of wins.
Yeah, indeed.
They have been playing a bit strangely. Like, over the last month, they've definitely had a couple of good wins, but they've also had some random losses as well. They lost. Who did they lose to? Fife? Didn't they lose to Fife?
I think a few weeks ago, I think they lost a game to Fife. But look at the game that they had against us a couple of weekends ago. Like right after we lifted silverware here, we had, was it a 4 or a 5 goal lead that we squandered in Manchester? I mean, going to Manchester is not an easy game, and it maybe says something about the Giants as well. We've seen it a couple of times now that they have maybe gone a couple of goals or 4 or 5 goals ahead and have switched off. It's not what you expect to see from prospective league champions, but again, put it on Manchester as well, and put it in the rink in Altrincham. It is a difficult place to go and play. It's very much like that Fife barn. It's closed in, it's noisy whenever the fans are in full voice, and again, I bring it back to the fact that Manchester are playing for playoff hockey. So these are big games for them.
Yeah, and we will keep an eye on that scoreline tonight, just as we are recording. So if you hear us later on talking about it, you know what we're referring to. We'll keep an eye on that Sheffield-Manchester game as we go. Guys, I'm going to switch across the pond. We'll head over to the NHL. And we're going to.
I'm just going to leave the room for this part.
You might want to.
First off, in the Eastern Conference and the Metropolitan Division, currently sitting top there is Carolina with 67 games played and 96 points, followed by New York Rangers in second place with 67 games played and 91 points, and then Pittsburgh in third with 68 games played and 90 points. Over in the Atlantic, then we have the Florida Panthers still sitting top with 66 games played, 96 points. Tampa is still in second with 66 games played, 90 points, and Toronto are in third with 66 games and 89 points. Wildcard spots currently are held by Boston and Washington.
You can't miss out Boston. As much as you want to miss out Boston for playoffs, you're not allowed to.
We're going to come back to that in a minute. We will come back to that in a minute. Over in the Western Conference Central Division, Colorado sitting top there with 67 games played and 100 points. Minnesota are in second with 65 games played, 86 points, and Nashville in third with 67 games played and 82 points. Pacific then, over on the Pacific side, Calgary are in first with 66 games played, 88 points. Los Angeles are in second with 68 games played, 81 points, and Edmonton are in third with 67 games played and 79 points. Wildcard spots are held by St. Louis and Dallas. Guys, we are literally in the last month of the NHL as it stands. The NHL.
You make it sound like the NHL just stops.
Yeah,
this is it. This is the last season. NHL's done after this season.
No,
whoever wins the Stanley Cup keeps it.
The league there will also finish this month too. Usually we're used to having our season here in the Elite League finish usually at the start of like kind of around about this weekend. Actually, usually when our hockey usually stops. We're in a weird position where our season will finish here in the UK around about the same time as the NHL's regular season will finish, which we haven't seen in a while, and we'll get stuck straight into the Stanley Cup, obviously. So the wildcard spots as they currently stand, while we've talked about the wildcard spots previously and kind of said, won't focus too much on them at the moment. Right now, the wildcard spots are significantly important. However, in saying that, the wildcard spots, I would say, in the Eastern Conference are kind of, I think, a foregone conclusion.
They're nailed on.
It's definitely going to be Boston or Washington, or obviously then Toronto or Pittsburgh if they fall down into the wild card spot. But the next point after that, the next team after that, which is Columbus, are sitting with 69 points compared to the closest one, which is 84 points. So I think they're nailed on. I think we can see clearly who the 8 teams from the Eastern Conference will be. It's a different story over on the Western side. While Minnesota and Nashville keep switching places, keep going in and out of the wildcard spots and whatever else, the wildcard spots there are held by St. Louis and Dallas at this time. However, Vegas and Winnipeg are close on the heels of St. Louis and Dallas. The only difference being is that St. Louis and Dallas do have about 3 games in hand over Vegas and Winnipeg, so they could be a big deciding factor when it comes to.
It's not even that. You look at the point spread from first.
It's so close
in Central and Pacific. Now, bear in mind your wild card slot is sort of between sort of both sides between Central and Pacific. The point spread is so thin. You're talking 1 or 2 points, and any one of the top 8 could drop out.
Easily.
You have a bad couple of weeks, you could tumble straight out of playoffs.
Yep, massively. And John, you mentioned it already, and we can't joke around about it, but obviously that fear set in, the fear has set in terms of Toronto obviously always bogey team when it comes to the playoffs is always Boston, so that is the big fear factor.
But the way it sits right now, you would potentially only meet them in the second round. Surely.
Round, yeah, it would be the way it currently stands. So let's hope we get to the second round anyway. But
what about
we should be there.
I was going to say
official. It's official. Last night, the Wild put us out. We are eliminated. Been eliminated.
I to be fair, mate, no, I'm sorry, but I don't think he's even had a chance. Even if they,
no.
There's no way.
I know. It's completely a strategy. It was just me trying to hide my tears of this complete season. Yeah, this season's not been great, and losing our cap and all that kind of stuff. Hopefully, big changes are going to be happening because they need to. We haven't had a great.
With losing Giroud, that screams rebuild.
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
It has to.
It wasn't even a good transfer. We've got is grand, but it seemed like we give away far too much for what we got.
Unless you're clearing cap space, you must be clearing cap space at this point. I mean, what's he got? Another couple of seasons on his current deal, and then sure he's away. But you must be trying to clear off cap space for a rebuild. Has to be. It's the only reason you get rid of a franchise guy like Giroud.
I would say it does look that way. You kind of get to the point. You kind of get a feeling sometimes where maybe there has been a bit of a tactical kind of decision being made by a team, and you do feel that maybe they're thinking, we need to think of some way of, there needs to be something we need to put in place in order to kind of maybe rebuild and look at it. I would say
it's sad to see him go though. 1,000 games,
of course, massively.
Flyers through and through. But hey ho.
What I would say is, we've seen a lot of movement and a lot of, changes over the last week or so within the NHL, obviously gearing up towards the playoff run. And Dave's not here, and I'm sure Dave's ears are picked up somewhere, and he kind of realizes we're about to talk about the Minnesota Wild. But I don't know if I'm the only one who maybe thinks that the Minnesota Wild were probably one of the cleverest teams during that recent trade deals there. I mean, they brought in Fleury, which was. I think it's a great move for them to bring in Fleury, but also when they brought in Fleury, they brought in Fleury and they got a deal that I thought was just genius.
Daylight robbery. They got absolute daylight robbery.
They were able to pick up a second round draft. They were able to pick up a second round draft pick from a previous trade, and then they went, you know what? We'll sweeten the pot, we'll throw it in, and we'll give that across for our trade for Fleury. And I was like, yeah, well, they didn't have it. They were like, that wasn't something we asked for in the first place. It was something Spurs
Was it an out second round pick as well, or is it a conditional pick?
No, it was. Well, it's conditional on Fleury has to be able to play a certain number of games.
So I mean, even at that, if he gets injured or whatever, It's an absolute no-brainer. I mean, this is a Stanley Cup winning goaltender who, admittedly, is, I'm not going to say he's in the twilight of his career because he absolutely isn't, but he's on the back nine at this point, to use a golf term that I know, not that I play golf, but he's on the back nine, and
Is that where that comes from? Interesting.
it is. We know a guy who would know all about
The more you know.
the more you know. But I mean that's a statement for playoffs. That's a statement signing for playoffs that I don't think any other team made. So absolutely mad, and walked out, won his first game. I don't think it was a shutout now, but did you see what he got? He was the first star of the game, but did you see what a fan in Minnesota did?
No.
So he came out for the star presentation, did the the little skate out, skate back that they do from the tunnel, and someone threw a bunch of flowers on the ice for him.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course they
Yeah,
did.
threw a bouquet onto the ice, so he went and picked it up and gave it a wee wave.
Yeah, I think that was I think that was one of the greatest pickups during that trade deadline and trade deals there that were happening. It was a bit of a flurry, a flurry of trades,
Flurry of activity.
Yay. But I think I mean I think they definitely pulled off a great trade deal. John, before we move on, let's get your thoughts. Obviously, we're heading up to, as I say, we're in the final throes of the NHL run. Obviously, the Nashville are in a good place at this time. I mean, happy enough? You think, content that there's going to be a playoff run for you?
I mean, we're in a good place now, and I don't hold anything until we're actually in there. Like I said, that Western Conference is just the bloodiest conference within the NHL, and like me and Dave talk about it all the time, it is an absolute bloodbath. We're only on a 2-win streak as opposed to the Wild, who are sitting above us in second place in the West, and they're on a 7-win streak. And like I say, you turn that around, you go a 7-loss streak at this point in the season, especially in the West, you've got no playoff hopes at all. So you really need to be putting results together. Now, admittedly, decent result against the Flyers a couple of nights ago. I think we're next up against Washington, if I'm right.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough game. Whether we come through on that, Jussi Saros is firing. He is starting to fire. The only problem is sometimes he does give up some stupid goals. But thankfully, a couple of our forwards are really, really producing at this point, producing franchise records for point production. From Tanner Jano, I think is up there just now. He got his Gordie Howe against the Flyers as well the other night, which was you'll love to see it. I think I got an assist in the first, a fight in the second, and a goal in the game-winning overtime goal as well to take the victory, which is fantastic. Or sorry, it was a late third period goal. It was for the win to round out his Gordie Howe hat-trick. So, look, we're getting the results now, and I'll take them while they're coming. What about you, Marty? What about the Leafs?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Leafs are, well, I would say now we're solidified it for at least that first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs anyway. We talked obviously about we joked around there about obviously the Boston Bruins and about how that tends to be the bogey team when it comes to the playoff run. We did have obviously we did defeat Boston Bruins on Tuesday night, which was last night actually. But I don't know if you've seen. We're going to talk about it actually later on in period 2 when it comes to the penalty box segment, so I won't talk about it too much right now. But we came out of that game, although we beat Boston 6-4. We came out of that game worse off. I mean, I think we came out with 3 injuries in total for 3 key players. I mean, it's tough when you're coming towards this last end of the playoff run. The only thing I would say is I was quite surprised. And I was talking to Dave about this on Friday. In that, when it comes to the playoff run, you see these other teams all making moves and everything else to kind of look towards the trade deadline and see what everything's going to happen. And for some reason, the Maple Leafs didn't really went well. They made a few interesting ones. I suppose future considerations was one area, but we traded defenseman, obviously, Bega to you guys to Nashville, if I remember correctly, for future considerations, which basically just means that we have a space ready to go in case we like the look of that person, we'll take them from you, and also then, so it's kind of an interesting one, or was it Marlies? No, it was Leafs. Yeah, the Leafs made that move, and then the Marlies then obviously got another part of that deal because in Nashville, obviously, I don't know how the deal worked, but there was a thing to do with however the deal worked. The Marlies then ended up with a player from Nashville too. I think it was part of that.
Probably
double
someone
deal.
from our AHL affiliate.
Yeah, Philippe Myers was part
He'll
of
have
that
come
deal
from.
as well.
I think he came from Milwaukee, from the Admirals,
defenseman.
and went through to the Marlies.
So it's quite an interesting one. But yeah, it wasn't as big of a rush as I thought there was gonna be. So it'd be interesting to see them. Obviously, Keith there, the lesser known Keith, the less popular Keith. He obviously knows what he's playing with. He knows what he's got. And I think he must be content enough. Not to have made any bigger deals than what they've done. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Guys, with that, what we'll do is we'll round off that intro, our preamble talk, our pre-show, and what we'll do then is we'll get smoothly moved into our period 1 of hockey. Okay, our period 1 is a roundup of all the stories that are of interest for here closer to home in the UK. So any stories from right across any of the leagues represented in the UK. Guys, our period 1 is dominated by basically one main team and also one main story. Since our previous podcast, we should have had this podcast last week, which would have been very closer. It would have been a lot closer to the time of the actual win, but we are slightly removed from it. But since our last episode, we were talking prior to our last episode about how excited we were about the build up towards the Challenge Cup final, which seen the Belfast Giants take on the Cardiff Devils in the SSE Arena for a Giants home Challenge Cup. How did it go, John? How did that game go?
I don't know. I can't remember.
That's why I asked.
I remember walking in. I remember walking into the SSE, and then someone tells me I got home at about 3:00.
Aaron, do you have a better memory of how that night went?
Awesome! What a night! What a night!
Do you know the only reason I knew that we'd actually won that game is because I've got a video of the moment David Goodwin lifted the trophy on my phone.
I'm actually impressed that you were able to point your phone at the ice and activate the camera.
I was also clearly standing in the stairs. I'm surprised I didn't fall forward and end up going through the plexi.
In what ended up being a very actually quite tense game, the Belfast Giants beat Cardiff Devils in overtime to secure the 2022 Premier Sports Challenge Cup. Around 7,000 spectators, I think, in total at the arena. Practically a sellout crowd. I think actually they did announce it as a sellout crowd. I think it was sold out. The Giants, it was a great game. I mean, for an actual for the game itself, it was such a tight game. It was not an easy game to watch in terms of. It was a great game to watch, but it wasn't an easy game to watch. If that makes sense.
Second period was such a gut wrench.
It was just one of those games where it's just it was just a real back and forth battle between both teams, and it took to 4 minutes and 18 seconds into overtime, for a combination of Lewis Hook and Ben Lake. I just mixed the two names together.
Lewis Lake and Hook Ben.
Yeah, Lewis Lake and Ben Hook, able to help, as a duo put that puck just across the line and finish off.
Let's not lie. I do actually remember a lot more of this game than I let on. Let's not take away from that third period from the Belfast Giants. The first period was chippy. I mean, both teams found their way into that game. Second period, there's no getting away from it. The Devils absolutely owned the second period. They absolutely had us on the run and took a 2-0 lead. But less than 3 minutes it took for the Giants to come back. 42-13, the first goal was scored by Lewis Hook, and then 45-08 was the tying goal by David Goodwin. So in less than 3 minutes in that second period, we went from being 2 goals down and looking down the barrel of a shocking home defeat in a final to going through to the what we had confirmed mere hours before as 5-on-5, 20 minutes of overtime. But thankfully
sudden death.
It took less. It took less than a
Sudden
normal overtime period anyway. And the goal was put in. Ben Lake put the game-winning goal through, and the arena went.
And was that
mental, and
confirmed? Because there was confusion on the
So
night.
on the night, it was now there was nothing. I don't think any of us checked our phone, and it was officially on Flash Scores was put down as Lewis Hook, but it was a tap in on the line from Ben Lake, and it was Ben who scored the game-winning goal officially.
I mean,
And after that, that's where my memory stops.
it was just in general. I mean, the night itself, the atmosphere was fantastic. The Cardiff fans, they fair play to them. They travelled over as well. I know there's a few. I know prior to that game, and in the last podcast we talked about it, there was a lot of, I suppose, not outrage. I suppose there was a lot of
Discontent,
shall we say, about the decision that had been made, and a lot of the fans had said about, oh, it's not fair, we have to travel over, blah blah blah. But I like to think that a lot of the Cardiff fans who did make it over enjoyed that, and also the fact that it was St. Patrick's Day the next day, and hopefully made the most of that too. It was a fantastic night. I mean, and also we should mention as well, the SSE. Fair play to the SSE. They have opened up the brand new bar off ice. Downstairs.
Terrible name.
In the you had
No, I don't agree. I think it's cracker. I think it's a great name.
It's a good name, but then when John mentioned the name he had in his head, I was like, you know what? Actually, I felt that made more sense. But
No, was your idea not on ice?
No, ice in. Ice in.
Someone said
ice
on
in.
ice, and I was like, what?
No, I mean, on ice doesn't make any sense. Off ice makes more sense than on ice.
Yeah.
But
I know.
in.
But it makes more sense whenever it was explained that it used to be an office space, so it makes more sense.
It's just a terrible reason to call it that. I mean,
But then wait, no, did your nephew not confirm that it was like where the beer used to be stored?
Part of it was, but the other around the other side was
the
an
far
office.
side where we weren't used to be the main arena offices. Yeah.
Keeper's office, I think, is what he said was in there. Anyway, the bar had opened just for that one night, especially for that one night. It will reopen again.
It's opening up again in April, apparently.
I think, yeah, and it's a great space. Very impressed.
Yeah, what a bar.
Yeah, the bar is absolutely fantastic. Amazing horseshoe-shaped bar. Splits the middle of the space. Loads of taps. Loads of staff were on that night as well. For the number of people that were in there, like, you didn't wait more than a couple of minutes to get your beers. It was fantastic, and the effort put into that is just astonishing.
Can I also just note the beer was cold? What?
It was cold, and it didn't taste like antifreeze.
And it had an actual head on it.
It did. It did. There were many, many good things that happened that night.
Small things.
The beer was cold. The trophy was lifted.
But yeah, no, it was a great night. We do hope, obviously, to recapture that night with the league trophy come the end of this season. So
I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine doing it again? Can you imagine that sort of atmosphere again?
I hope. I know I will be there on the final two games of the season. I will not be missing them. So hopefully I'll see you guys there as well, maybe. Guys, I'm going to move us on to our next story. I think they are John. I think they're wait. What were you down thumbing?
That was me. That was me confirming that I. Now I think I'm going to be there for the last official home games of the season. For the league, fingers are still crossed at this point. That I'm going to be. No, I think I will. Make that one, but I'm definitely not going to be at the playoff game.
Yeah, I'm not either.
But I need to confirm. There might still be an outside chance that I'm not at the Sheffield and Coventry games, which is of course going to be absolutely horrific if I have to sit and watch that on a webcast. But that is
on the plus side, though, I get a free game because I'll get your season ticket.
Tell them that. Yeah, sorry. So the other stories are over on the other side, the team that we hope loses every game in the run-in. But this is Sheffield. So Sheffield made a couple of big announcements over the last week or so. The first one was that the Sheffield Steelers have signed up their coaching duo in Aaron Fox and Carter Beston Will for an additional 3 seasons. So obviously Tony Smith likes what he sees from this Sheffield team, who are first time in a couple of seasons are really in there for a league title. And look, at one point they were in a position where people thought they were just going to walk every trophy.
Yeah.
And given these guys a few seasons, I mean, it's a no brainer. I think Tony would be daft for dropping out. Given a couple of seasons of sort of changes there, especially with the likes of, was it Barrasso was in there before, and really, I mean, nothing really clicked for Tom Barrasso when he was in Sheffield, but Aaron Fox and Carter Besson-Will definitely have steadied that shaky ship made of Sheffield steel, and it hasn't sunk yet. So good luck to them. I hope they win nothing and come second in every competition they enter. The second announcement from Sheffield was that the Steelers and the Sheffield City Council have made a 7-year deal to stay in Sheffield Arena, in the Utilitea Arena, I think it's called now. So again, I mean, it's all coming up roses in Sheffield at this point. They've got a home signed up for at least the next 7 years, 7 seasons, and a coaching duo that are there for nearly half of that as well. So I mean, that's got to give the fan base in Sheffield a big boost, knowing that they've got home ice and they've got a good coaching staff on board. So
I know you joke about having, the hope they come second and all that, but it's great having other teams like Sheffield and Cardiff that are really help push the league and help push the teams. Your team isn't just walking every single game.
Don't discount as well how big the news of the home deal is for the Utility Arena with the council, because not every team has that. We take it for granted here in Belfast because our ownership is effectively the ownership of the ice as well. There's never a question that we've got home ice, that we've got the ability to play hockey here in Belfast where we want to be playing it. The likes of Sheffield, even Cardiff, I think to an extent, they don't have that same relationship. I don't think anywhere outside of some of the ranked teams has that relationship. Like you're looking at the likes of Fife and I think maybe Manchester. There's like closer links between rink management and ownership and team ownership and management. To have that in an arena is massive, and to get that sort of agreement for Sheffield, that's huge. And look, the league doesn't continue without a team like Sheffield. It doesn't carry on without the likes of Sheffield, Cardiff, Nottingham, Belfast, and to a lesser extent places like Coventry. Without those teams, we don't have an elite league. So it's not just securing the future of the Sheffield Steelers, it's securing the future of the elite league as well.
Yeah, agreed, 100%. I mean, Aaron, I agree with what you were saying there. Obviously we do give Sheffield a bit of a stick because obviously they are our closest rivals at this time. But it is, when you read a story about this, when you see a story where both as a team themselves, they do their part for really pushing forward the ice hockey in the UK. They push forward that, and they make sure that it's the forefront of what they do. So it's always about it. It's always positive. But also to have, as John said there, the arena, to have to know that the arena is backing you for such a long time, to know there's security happening there. You're always happy to hear that a team is secure, because that's the worst thing you want to hear is a team where there is a bit of insecurity. Think about this time last year where we were talking about the Glasgow Clan. We were talking about at the start of the season too. There was a whole big uncertainty with the Glasgow Clan in relation to their arena. The fact that it was hadn't secured the ownership and stuff because of the whole trade buyout of the actual ice rink and the shopping centre and stuff there. So it's great to see 7-year investment, and I did read that the plan they have in place is to kind of make it more of a. It's kind of similar to what I suppose Fitzpatrick always says here, is that the arena it's Belfast Giants home arena that sometimes has a gig at it, and that's what he always kind of sold it as. It's an ice hockey home, but it's it kind of guest hosts, like the odd music concert, that kind of thing. And I think the idea that Sheffield had was, well, from what I'm reading, and I don't know if maybe I'm reading too much into it, but from the sounds of things, like Tony was saying about, that they hope that something quite similar can happen there as well, in that Sheffield and them will focus on how that fan experience and what it's going to look like, and how to make it more of a home for the Sheffield Steelers moving forward. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I did note it was just something that was quite interesting at the weekend was we were in the arena and the reason why I'm talking about it is because obviously how about John, you mentioned about how lucky people are whenever they do have such strong bonds with the arena or this place that they're playing in. And I think it was very clear at the weekend with the Nottingham fans in the arena. We were at the bar and Dave was using the season ticket discount, and one of the Nottingham fans was like, "Sorry, what?" And we're like, "Yeah."
No way, really?
You get percentage discount on like your beer and food and stuff at the and things. And he's like, "They're just like, they're just like,
look,
really in shock.
there is
No way.
There is not a more toxic relationship between the team, the ownership, the arena, and the fans than there is in Nottingham. They're down as one of the staples of the league. And don't get me wrong, if Nottingham were to ever disappear from the league, I think you'd have serious questions about the viability of the Elite League. But there is nowhere more toxic. The only place that used to be more toxic was Cardiff. But now, I mean, Nottingham is everything that you wouldn't want as far as a relationship between your team and your fans goes. I mean, it's horrendous. Yeah. And it's always in the public eye. As much as the Steelers have had their public fallings out with the fan base and through different things and whatever the team or people linked with the team have done, consistently you can always be assured that someone in the Panthers organisation, normally their ownership, will really, really piss off the fans.
Yeah, and that's why you always, as we were saying, you're lucky if you can build that relationship strong enough. Within with your owners of your rink, or if you own it yourself.
Look, as long as your ownership are quite happy for a fan club to exist, then you're onto a good thing. Whenever the ownership think that a fan club is a problem, then yeah, you've got bigger problems there.
Guys, before we move on to DOPS, that's kind of the end of our main stories that we had for this period. But before we move on to DOPS and our penalty box segment for period one, I just wanted to make one more, one passing, obviously just want to highlight it, I suppose, something to highlight just before we end this period, was just that obviously the GB under 18s tournament is taking place, will be taking place. It's due to start in the next week or so, but at the moment Team GB under 18s are taking part in a few warm-up games prior to that tournament starting. First warm-up game was today against and they in Helsinki, I should say, where Team GB won the first game there 9-3. I just wanted to also comment. I just want to highlight. Obviously, the goals coming from Archie Hazelden scored 2. Kyle Beattie, Belfast Giants, Kyle Beattie, and also obviously of Giants, Junior Giants, and Giants SNL. So he scored 1 goal, and also Carter Hamill
and Belfast Giants.
And Belfast Giants, yeah, and Carter Hamill, who is not been seen has not played for Belfast Giants yet, but is a Giants SNL player. Carter Hamill scored a hat-trick as part of that game as well. So we just wanted to kind of highlight that. But
even better, amongst so I kept an eye on this one as well. So Belfast trained players, 8 points in that game. 8
with assists
points.
And goals. Yeah, great.
Absolutely amazing.
So hats off, stick taps to those guys. Congrats on a good win. So
yep.
Just wanted to mention that before we move on to our penalty box segment. Alright, our penalty box segment is just a roundup of any stories coming out of DOPS, Department of Player Safety, or of any hits or anything of note that we need to discuss since our last recording. John, I'm not going to pretend that I'd put these in because you did it yourself and found these safety stories, so you take it away.
Yeah, it's very, very quick, guys. Just to mention, obviously with the extra week between podcasts, we're a little bit behind with this one, but DOPS came out of hibernation just for a couple of days last week. The first one, everyone's favourite head coach at this point, Malky Cameron from the Glasgow Clan. He was fined and suspended for 1 game following incidents both during and immediately following game 258, the Dundee Stars versus Glasgow Clan on the 13th of March. So this was passed through to EIHL Hockey Operations for the EIHL's own disciplinary committee, which deals with issues that fall outside of regular player safety, because obviously DOPS don't have the powers to deal with the coaching staff. and it was agreed that he would be banned for 1 game and was fined. So he was suspended for the Clans game against Cardiff, game 230 on the 18th of March. I'm led to believe that this is down to comments made about the refereeing of the game against Dundee. So I'm guessing he's probably had something to say to the officials while he's been on the bench. It hasn't been enough to maybe throw him out of the game. But then I think through his media interviews, he's then made comments with regards to the officiating of the game, and as such the league took the decision to ban him for a game and fine him. Where fines go and how much they are is anyone's guess at this point.
Pot noodle.
Absolutely.
Who knows? Who knows?
It's probably for the sandwich platter at playoffs for all the owners. It's probably just up for that box there. The second one then was just last weekend, actually, the 26th. So on Friday night, on the 25th, on Friday night, everyone's favourite Dundee Stars player, Kyle Haas, was assessed a game misconduct penalty and ejected from the game for being third man into an altercation between Stars player Charlie Combs and Blaze's Nathaniel Halbert. Saw this one. This took a bit of pasting on social media over the weekend. It's just Kyle Haas being Kyle Haas, I think, at this point, and pretty clear cut. He is the third man in. He was deemed to be the aggressor in the situation as well. And because he has previously been fined and suspended by the Elite League Department of Player Safety this season, he was adjudicated an extra game, so he was banned for 2 games. And I think he'll then return this weekend coming. I think he missed the last weekend's at least 1 game, so I think he's got at least 1 more to spend before he comes back into the lineup for the Stars. Marty, that rounds us off on Dops. Not much really to talk about there.
Nope. It's quite clear cut. I think they were quite an easy ones to talk about. That takes us then to the end of our period 1, and we'll move swiftly on to our period 2 of hockey.
Okay, this comes to period 2, where we talk about international hockey, or Evander Kane period, which I think
it's the Evander Kane period again. It is the Evander Kane period.
It is the Evander. Tell us about Evander Kane, John. What's going on in his world these days?
So this was absolutely brilliant. So Kane is obviously he's back playing, and he's back getting the odd couple of minutes. I mean, he's playing big minutes, if we're honest, for the Oilers. But somehow, and I believe that this is a league record, whatever he did, in 8 minutes and 47 seconds of game time, Evander Kane managed to get 8 minutes of penalties. Now, you would think, a couple of double majors, that's okay. You could see that happening. That's doable. No, he managed to get 4 minor penalties across 8 minutes and 47 seconds. So, like being honest, he gets his first one. He then got 3 more calls within 47 seconds of time on ice.
What were they? What did he
impressive. Do? Right, so he received a roughing penalty at 19:06 of the second period. Came out of the box at 1:06 of the third. Stayed on the ice. Then took an interference penalty at 1:38 in the third. Then got out at 3:38. Then took a tripping penalty at 4:32. So that was less than a minute later, a lot less than a minute. And then to cap it off, he then took another tripping penalty at 6:47 after hopping out again at 6:32. So that last one only took him,
15 seconds?
Something like that. Yeah. No, less. Yeah, sorry, 15 seconds, yeah. So 15 seconds.
15 seconds.
At no point after he had served a penalty did he manage to get back to the bench. Every time he jumps up into the play and then costs the Oilers another power play.
Yeah, maybe they'll learn next time, in the next game, if he takes penalty, the next time he takes penalty, maybe he'll learn.
Well, I mean, you would think the coaching signal, is, come to the bench, I don't care that we're 3-on-1, come to the bench.
I seen the best one was there was a tweet put out of someone, and they used, the Simpsons gif. I think it's actually in this.
Yes, live footage.
The Grandpa Simpson.
Yep. Yeah, the Grandpa Simpson coming in the door and walking back out again of the club. That's hilarious. hilarious.
No, it's so good. I don't think we have any other Evander Kane stories though for this period,
No, thankfully not.
but it's good to have him back. No, it's not. Marty, I think you have a lovely story for us.
Yeah, I'll go with the first story that I have for this period. My only story for this period, I should say. We this week the NHL general managers held their annual meeting in Florida. This is the first one that they've had since 2020 in person. I should say they've done them online, but this is the first one in person. A couple of different things. I suppose there was a couple of things up on the agenda for discussion around this general managers meeting, I suppose. And especially things that are going to affect the next calendar year of the league action. Gary Bateman did come out and highlight some of those. He did speak to me on Tuesday to kind of just talk about some of the things the NHL will be looking at moving forward, and I suppose kind of just talk about what some of the stuff that did come out of that meeting. The big main one, and the biggest talking point, or the biggest talking story, is the long-term injury reserve salary cap. At the moment, there is this weird loophole currently happening where because of this rule that they brought in, the long-term injury reserve cap, long-term injury reserve, it was brought in, if you remember correctly, because of the whole COVID protocols and everything else that was going on. So they brought it in as a means to kind of obviously bring it in, kind of similar to the taxi situation, we talked about in the previous podcast. And we've seen teams like Vegas who have made use of it this year. We've seen Tampa who've made use of it this year, and a couple of others as well. In that, basically, the salary cap doesn't apply. I suppose if a player goes off on the long-term injury list and they bring in another player to replace them, one of the big things that's happened at the moment is obviously the move towards the playoffs, and how the salary cap rules didn't apply for bringing players in over the playoff period, especially if they were coming in as injury reserve for a long-term player that's been out. And I think Mark Stone is one clear example of that. Vegas were trying to do that with Mark Stone. And obviously there's a big thing around this. And I think one of the big things then around that was, how many teams are using that loophole this season? 16 teams in the NHL have at least one player on the injury reserve, which means a lot of them have moved towards bringing in another signing, which is outside of that salary cap. So what they're trying to discuss is around whether or not they're going to stop that, or how they're going to plug that hole, I suppose. And early discussions are that it doesn't look like it's going to come anytime soon. Gary Bateman has pointed out that there doesn't seem to be any issues with it. And kind of downplayed it quite a bit, and it kind of was like, we won't be talking about it any further. So it'd be interesting to see if that rears its head during the off-season period before we come into next season, to see if that does go any further, or if they do look to kind of figure out how to close that loop that's currently happening. One of the other things that came out of the GM conversations, a couple of things. The next one was around the World Cup of Hockey. Hands up if anybody remembers the World Cup of Hockey. Guys, do you kinda, yeah. There's one hand anyway. I think our main thing with the World Cup of Hockey was that we, obviously, like our podcast always does, we were more focused on the jerseys that came out for the World Cup of Hockey, if you remember correctly. But the event is due to take place. It will be happening again, and it's been narrowed down to February 2024. However, unlike the last time, they have announced already that there will be no Team North America. Basically, Bateman confirmed on Tuesday that the league will not be returning to a format for that, and the country will be represented as part of that Team North America. I also read today that Team Europe were not interested either in playing as part of this World Cup of Hockey either. So whether or not they decide to go ahead with it, especially when you've got one of the other big one of the big names who
can't really play at the moment
was Russia, Federation of Players from Russia, whatever it was called at the time. They will not obviously be invited either at this time. If things change, maybe they will be, but at this time,
doors open for GB. Door is open for GB in the World Cup of Hockey. I mean, let's just face it, they're going. They're going.
So while it's been discussed and they've suggested that it is going to happen, whether it does or not, it's another story. So we'll keep an eye on that and see.
What point can you not call yourself the World Cup? Like when so many places are like Europe, America, not in it.
Call it the Universal Cup. Just rename it.
Yeah. the last one, I suppose, the last part of it, the last story that I suppose is significant wise for that was discussed at the GM meeting was around the salary cap itself, and about the general, suppose, season salary cap. The NHL is moving to increase that salary cap by $1 million, but I think we already kind of knew that. We had kind of discussions around that was potentially coming in anyway. And that will be kind of what it is. So it'll be a $1 million increase to the salary cap starting from, I believe, next year. That will take place. So that'll be an interesting one to see. If
we knew that was coming anyway.
Yeah, we did.
We always knew that was coming.
We talked in a previous podcast just about how inflated players' salaries were starting to get. So we kind of were expecting that additional budget to be set anyway, so that salary cap to rise. So it's just confirmation that it is happening and it will be on its way. So that's really the three main takeaways from the GM meetings this week. But I just
did you also notice that in the same story they furthered the discussion about the cap and that the money that the players owe owners through the collective bargaining agreement, because of loss of revenue through the pandemic. We've seen this escrow conversation before, I think, with lockouts. But the money that is owed back is roughly $1 billion apparently to owners. They expect that to be paid back by the end of the 2024-25 season. And if that comes off, they then fully expect the cap to take a much bigger jump up, because the players won't owe the owners any more money. So the owners are then in a position.
What do they owe the money for?
So players, the way that, I mean, this escrow thing's really confusing. I've never really fully understood it, but the owners make money off the games, obviously, and where certain actions, be it the shutdown thanks to the pandemic or reduced crowds or whatever, through the collective bargaining agreement, the players owe the owners money as an organisation. So the players are all in, obviously, the Players Association, and the Players Association owes the owners, the 32 owners, money as a result of that. It's a really weird situation. I've never got my head around it completely. But that is scheduled to be paid back by the end of the 2024-25 season. If that all goes ahead and there's no other restrictions and the players, through any different agreement through, say, a reorganisation of the CBA, as long as that doesn't happen, they expect the cap from 2024, maybe 2025 season, will take another big jump, much more than the £1 million jump or $1 million jump. It'll take a much bigger jump, so the cap will go up. So you'll probably see a return to crazy contracts coming back in as that goes up.
I thought you were going to tell me that they were all put on furlough and they all got, no, got paid. They're looking their money back.
But did you look at the annual revenue for the league this season? The NHL's annual revenue this season is going to tip over $5 billion. That's huge money, especially for a league that operates with a salary cap. That's mad. But to be fair, it keeps things competitive more than it does in the likes of Premier League football, where you've got 2 or 3 teams every season that are competing, or an elite league where it's 2 or 3 teams every season are competing for silverware.
Yeah. Well, before we move on to the penalty box, John, you've got a bit of a sad story coming from the Senators.
Yeah, a bit of a sad one this week. It was announced on the 28th that Eugene Melnyk, the owner of the Ottawa Senators, had passed away, sadly. He owned the Ottawa Senators since 2003. Commissioner Gary Bettman said that whether it was in the boardroom with his fellow governors, at the rink with his beloved Senators, or in the community with his philanthropy, he cared deeply about the game, about his team, and about bettering the lives of those in need, particularly underserved children, organ donation, and most recently with his commitment to parents' home country of Ukraine. So he is a once removed Ukrainian as well.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, it's always sad when a guy who's so clearly well respected by former players, current players, passes away. And I think one reason that this caught my eye, obviously as a story, was the Senators' first game after Eugene passed away was in Nashville. and Nashville, before opening face-off, actually put up a video tribute and asked the crowd to stand and have a moment's silence for Eugene, and there was a round of kind of sporadic applause for him as well. So clearly a guy who was well respected throughout the league and throughout hockey as well. So sad news that he's passed away. And the league's thoughts were with Eugene's daughters, Anna and Olivia, and his extended family, who all benefited from his generosity.
Wow. Yeah, and 19 years of owning the club, and obviously has touched a lot of people. Definitely thoughts are with the family and the friends, and of course the fans.
Yep.
Very sad. I think that brings us into the main part of period 2. We're on to the penalty box, where we have 2 fines.
Yep.
Who put those in?
Let me just throw up our
Marty's going to
box
throw up the
segment,
title
and we'll-
page.
To your question, the penalty box segment is where we throw in any other stories similar to period 1. I threw in these 2 for this period. There was 2 stories coming out from DOPS in the NHL as of today. Both incidents happening since one I should mention one was from no, I think both were both from today. Both announced this afternoon. The first one is obviously known player for John there, Nashville Predators forward Tanner Janet
Tanner Geno.
has been fined $2,000, the maximum allowed under the collective bargaining agreement for kneeing Ottawa Senators forward Brad Tushik during the NHL Game 9, number 1064 in Nashville on Tuesday night. So that was last night. And the other one was Tyler Hall has been fined $5,000 for roughing in the game against the Maple Leafs, which I mentioned earlier on, in which Libushkin...
That second one, I've seen this. This has been getting talked a lot on social media.
Well, this is why I wanted to bring it
the
up.
Taylor Hall, it's a clear sucker punch. Now, don't get me wrong, the previous hit is not fantastic. It's borderline boarding, but it doesn't give him the right to stand up and sucker punch someone. And the fact that under the CBA, all he gets is $5,000, that's disgusting for that shot.
This was the story. This was the one I actually was kind of wanting to get your thoughts on, because I wasn't sure if you had seen it or not. Obviously, as I mentioned, the Leafs lost 3 players last night from injury, but Libushkin, has went out and didn't return to the game and is out obviously from. But it was a sucker punch no matter what.
It's a sucker punch, but it's a funny one. Don't get me wrong. I'm absolutely sure he's injured. Okay.
Obviously, I'm looking at with my Leafs glasses on. My blue tinted glasses. I mean, I seen it as quite aggressive, and I felt that he got off quite easy. I feel that he didn't get what he deserved in terms of it should have been a fine as well. Not only just a fine, but also should have been a game ban. Am I too harsh? Would you not?
No. I mean the hit's cowardly. It's, and we're seeing it more because the fighting is disappearing out of the game, and there aren't tough guys, there aren't enforcers on the ice that guys are scared of. Taylor Hall doesn't see anyone on the ice for the Leafs that he's overly worried about, that he can go in and throw a gloved hand at a guy's chin from behind him. So he's going to do it. What the league then has to do to counter this is figure out, is a $5,000 fine enough, or do we actually have to start banning these? Because that's a position where Libushkin is not able to defend himself. He's an unwilling combatant.
It's coming from behind as well.
Yeah, it's a total sucker punch, totally from behind. If he falls and hits his head, which I think is probably the mechanism of injury, because I don't think that the punch is enough to cause an injury. Now, there's another Bruins player that comes in, delivers a bit of a cross-check on the ice as well, which I don't like. Libushkin's on the ice and he gets a sort of secondary tap between the shoulder blades with the stick from the second player, and that's not seemingly getting talked about. The first punch is the problem. But if he falls awkwardly and hits his head harder than what he does, that's potentially a really serious injury. And in this day and age where head trauma is being talked about the way it is, and I'm not entirely sure that it's percolated into the NHL yet about the risk. I mean, we've seen the NFL and its resistance about CTE and what that can do to people and what the evidence shows that it does to people. There's clear evidence of it happening in ice hockey as well. It's just not spoken about properly. Now, there are new concussion protocols and all the rest of it, but a concussion protocol is not going to cover a sucker punch. And unless the league is going to take a stance against it, more of it's going to happen. And that's just the reality. $5,000 to these guys, it's nothing. It's chump change. We've just finished talking about the fact the cap's going to go up by $1 million. Like, $5,000.
I was going to ask, when do they pay this? Do they like just say stick it on the tab and I'll pay it at the end of the year? What what?
It all goes to the NHL Player Association, to the Players Fund. So that fund is.
I know, but like when do they pay it? Do they pay it there and then, or
immediately?
Pretty
Immediately.
much,
Yeah, immediately.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's money that just falls out of these guys' pockets and they don't even realize it. I mean, that's like you or me losing a £1 or £2 coin. Like,
hey! I'd go after that £1 or £2 coin, so I would.
I might, as long as it didn't fall down the drain and it was too much of a hassle to grab it. But yeah, look, like we jest, but I mean that it's currently hit. I'd like to think that the next time that these two teams come together, I don't know if you guys have any regular season games left against the Bruins, but someone's going to make them ring the bell.
Yeah, there's not. No.
So look, if it comes to playoffs and it starts a bit of a bad blood history there's already a bad blood history between the two teams. Let's be honest. Normally it's an absolute massacre for the Leafs, especially in playoffs. But look, if that's something that fires up the Leafs going into it, you don't want to see anyone injured. Nobody should get injured going to do their job. But yeah, maybe it gives them something for the playoffs.
Yep, indeed. That was it. That's my two. For this. So that takes us to the end of the penalty box segment, which means we're moving on to our final period and our period 3 of hockey.
Before I even start, I mean, Marty hijacking the end of period 2 there. I mean, oof, that was cold.
It was obviously I forgot about this the animation. He had to take control.
He had to. Yep, he had to. Anyway, period 3 is our general knocky news, where we talk anything and everything else in the world of hockey.
I'm afraid I'm going to get a stern talking to you afterwards.
You
can't forget about the animations.
You might get a verbal warning when we stop recording here.
Stuck on the
period 3. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going with period 3 because I don't want to get spoken to after this as well either. Period 3 is where we talk about anything and everything else in the world of hockey that we think needs to be spoken about. Marty, I'm going to start with you because the first story that you have there is I did notice it when it came out and I totally forgot to throw it in the running order. It's fantastic news coming out of Belfast.
Yeah, this is the news coming out, as you said, at Belfast, about the team up, I suppose, of the Belfast Giants with Disability Sport NI. After the winter, obviously the Winter Paralympics has just finished, and if anybody had watched the Winter Paralympics, you will have seen the sledge hockey tournament.
Para ice hockey.
Sledge hockey is what they refer to it as for this initiative. But obviously the Department of Communities here in Northern Ireland has funded the purchase of 24 disability sledges, which will allow the Odyssey Trust to open up its on-ice programs and activities to people with physical disabilities. So there's £20,000 investment has been put in by the department, which has enabled inclusive access to ice hockey and other ice hockey or on-ice activities for disabled participants and spectators to allow them to actively participate as well, and creating no limits, I suppose, is what their big thing is as well, and opening up that gateway to accessibility. This is a massive announcement. It does follow a launch of a program in Northern Ireland, what's called Active Living Strategy for Sports and Physical Activity. I know a tiny bit about it, but obviously from my work, obviously there's a big initiative going on in Northern Ireland for disability sport in general, to try and make it more inclusive and create a more strategic approach to ensure that moving forward any sports in Northern Ireland are fully inclusive in whatever way through this new strategy program that they're running. It's been a big, massive program that's run alongside a number of the major 8 of the major disability organisations in Northern Ireland. So this is a great initiative that obviously is very welcome at this time. They should say that this will be implemented as part of obviously the Odyssey Ice Academy and the Fresh Start program that they do. I think we know of that. You've seen it probably yourselves, guys. I mean, we've seen it the Heroes program and a couple of other initiatives that the Giants do during the off season. And this is just going to, I suppose, tag on to that, but also more so. It's going to, I think, the idea is that it's going to be part of an outreach a wider outreach program to create more, I suppose, popularity for it, and allow others to obviously get involved with the game itself. Steve Thornton did mention, and he had made a comment, or he did make a statement as part of the Belfast Giants, stating about how they are committed to promoting equality and inclusivity in the sports opportunities, and that this new initiative will create great opportunities to widen that ice hockey sport, or ice sports in Northern Ireland. So it's great timing, it's great news, and I think that the fact that they're able to, bring in this after the, obviously after a big winter Olympics, tag on to the end of, continue with the trend of, the popularity of it when it's fresh in people's minds. I think this is a great opportunity, and it's a great moving forward. So we'll be happy to hear. We'll be glad to see some further things on this, and we'll definitely keep an eye on that moving forward through the rest of this the rest of this year.
No, absolutely, and it's great to see more investment in it as well. I mean, that's just adding more value to the ice at the Odyssey, and
Definitely
clearly puts more pressure on second ice pad, because as uptake of this increases, as the uptake of the juniors progresses, the outreach programs that they already do through the Ice Academy, you throw in sledge or para ice hockey into that as well. You're realistically, Dundonald is a business in itself. If you're looking to draw this stuff in, you need a permanent ice pad, and the only way we get that is through a second pad, which hopefully isn't too far away in the future for Belfast.
You're just saying just what we talked about with the GB game. Obviously, the youth program's working.
Yep.
Yeah, massively. Yeah.
It's working, but there's improvements, and there's ways to go for more participation, more youth participation, and more of these local guys that we've seen. We've seen a couple of them already come through into the Giants. We're looking at more coming through now, hopefully. But I mean, one day you could be looking at all the Brits in the Belfast Giants team being from Belfast, and I mean, how amazing would that be? Guys, before I move on, I've got some bad news. The Sheffield Steelers have beaten the Manchester Storm 3-0. So Manchester not able to do us any favours tonight. Thanks for nothing, guys.
Yeah.
And in more bad news, Marty, we're going to talk about Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
But we get to talk about jerseys.
That's true.
About jersey. Exactly. The Belfast Giants. Nope, not Belfast Giants. The Toronto Maple Leafs last week revealed I suppose a deal that was done, or a design that has been created by Justin Bieber. Yes, Justin Bieber, I know. But he has designed a exclusive Toronto Maple Leafs jersey. And I would say, will they sell out quite quickly? They're one-off kind. There are limited edition sales of them. Kind of as soon as they're sold, they're gone.
They're limited edition until you can get them from China.
Exactly. The Maple Leafs did tweet out footage of Bieber's visit to the obviously to the rink, while also revealing the reversible hockey jersey. It is the first of its kind to be released in North American professional sports, and it was designed in partnership with Adidas NHL, with Justin Bieber's designs in mind. The jersey itself, guys, you have seen it. We shared it in our group chat, but we will throw it up. It is a reversible jersey, black standard. It's a black jersey, standard Toronto Maple Leafs leaf on the front, in blue, and the inside reverse is a leaf within a leaf, with a kind of we'll steal John's gold color. It's a yellow color, and the leaf itself is a smiley face, which I thought. I just thought, that's genius. I like it. I really like it. But it is an interesting take. I mean, a reversible jersey. John, even you had a positive thing to say about this?
It's a fantastic thing. I mean, look, I'm Scottish. Everyone knows this. I love a deal. You buy this jersey, you get two jerseys.
2 for 1.
You get 2 for 1. I love a deal. I absolutely love a deal. I do more than anything. I love the link up because this is a social enterprise that I think that Justin is involved in. And it's a Toronto based social enterprise. The fact that these guys are producing these and money from these goes back into the Toronto community is absolutely fantastic. My only question would be when Justin visited the locker room, do you think he walked over the logo again?
I would say probably the last time not to.
Never know.
What do you think? So, Marty, what do you think of them? Do you like them?
I like them. I like them, and I would like to buy one.
It's one of the first times I think we all looked at a jersey and we all went, actually, yeah, they're good.
Not bad, then. Yeah,
that's a good jersey.
I really do like it. And I'd say it's definitely one I would consider buying. I did chat to the guys. I put this in our group chat last week when we were talking. Whenever John you posted it first before I posted it. But it does remind me. And I kind of highlighted this back in the day. Whenever prior to I found hockey. I was a Premier League fan and I was a Manchester United fan. Judge me how you will, whatever. But
I always do.
They do remind
I always
me
judge you.
They do remind me of. I think, as I was saying to you guys, I think it's actually early 2000s. I think it was maybe like 2001. The Man United brought out a reversible top as well. At the time, it was white on one side and gold on the other, and it was the first time a Premier League team had done something of similar. And I was like, oh, that's only taken like 20 odd years for another team somewhere in a different league to do something similar, but. Definitely great. I really like them.
To be honest,
when do you think the Giants one's coming out?
I doubt that will happen at all.
Do you think we can get Bieber to do ours?
I'm just thinking about how difficult it would be to sew two jerseys together inside out.
Trying to get them to print one side is hard enough. Trying to get them to do
it's not even print. I'm thinking, can I take that jersey and that jersey, which are both this season? One's obviously Pride, one is like standard. Can I fold one inside out and then stitch the two of them together so that I go from teal to white, and realize the action is clearly just for the YouTube viewers. But
I was just thinking that I should explain that.
It's a difficult concept, but probably easier just to get a double-sided jersey made.
If you had to get a local celebrity to design a Belfast Giants jersey,
I know. I already know this. So this is one of the few memories I have of that Challenge Cup, and I remember saying to you guys at the time. During the game, we obviously went 2-0 down, and I noticed in one of the boxes just opposite me, Jimmy Nesbitt.
It's because they pointed it out. They called it out over the.
I noticed it before. No. I did. I spotted it before. I spotted it before. I was like, that's Jimmy Nesbitt. And then I messaged you guys as the announcement came out that, oh my God, Jimmy Nesbitt's in. So 2-0 down, nothing was happening. I mean, nothing was happening on the ice. Giants weren't performing. He wasn't in a Giants jersey. And then the third period, all of a sudden, Jimmy Nesbitt appears after the period break wearing a teal Giants jersey. I mean, if that's not showing you, that's the luck right there. So
you want James Nesbitt to design the jersey? Is that what you're saying?
I want him to design it. I want him to produce it. I want him to sign every single one of them. I want every
star in a series.
Absolutely. I want a crime drama all about this jersey being produced. I want it filmed in Belfast. I want the cutscenes to make no sense about where you go. I want them to go from outside the Odyssey to somehow being in the Cathedral Quarter all of a sudden round a corner. Like I want all of that. But 100% Jimmy Nesbitt. Challenge Cup mascot Jimmy Nesbitt. That's where we'll leave that. It's different. Sorry, you asked a question, Aaron. I answered it, and then I was about to move on. Who would you?
No, that's here. I'm Marty. Have you any ideas of who would you like? Maybe McFetters?
Oh, no. Is he a celebrity? Not really.
No.
Anybody outside of Belfast won't really even know who he is, or who May McFetters is. Sorry, wouldn't know who she is.
Who will be the biggest?
Gary Lightbody.
No, well,
I mean, he's Bangor, but I mean, Gary Lightbody.
The man from 50 Shades. What do you call him?
Jamie Dornan.
Dornan. He's everywhere at the moment, isn't he?
Never seen him at the SSE though.
Liam Neeson.
He
was a jet. Liam Neeson. He was a jet.
Neeson.
Neeson's a good shout, actually. It's a big jersey though. That's a big jersey. Speaking of jerseys, we'll move on, and you do have another one, Marty. You've just thrown it up there.
One more of note, because Dave will kill us if we if we didn't mention it. Last night was Minnesota Wild's Pride Night, Hockey is for Everyone night in Minnesota itself, and they had exclusive warm-up jerseys last night, obviously for the game. They're really, really nice, lovely little details on the jersey itself, right from the numbers right through to the logo on the front. Beautiful, contrasting with the colors of the rainbow.
Lovely and clean, really, really nice jerseys.
Beautiful, and even the little logo in the center part as well is it was really, really nice done.
It's stuff like that their logo really lends itself to.
Yeah.
Because doing those colors on that sort of cut out logo, that not a lot of teams have that sort of space inside their logo. It's very much like the Leafs reversible one from the inside, where they've gone with the leaf inside the leaf, and it makes it look really nice. That design work that's been done in that one is just brilliant. Absolutely love it. Really, really nice jersey. And I love the touch they did as well. It wasn't just about the jerseys, it was about the rest of the night as well. So even the players' nameplates on their stalls were all done up as well, to make the point that this is an event. It's not just a jersey, it's an event in that arena. So that was brilliant.
Yeah, and it helps that they won. Sorry, Aaron. 4-1 German of Philadelphia, but sorry.
That was the Philly game.
Yes.
Let's move on.
It's all right.
Let's move on. Guys, there's
epic
only
jerseys.
One more they're epic jerseys. There's only one more story, and I think we all found this about the same time, but Dave was the first one to throw it in our group chat, so we are going to talk about it. The MSU Mankato topped the BSU in one of the craziest ever finishes to a college hockey game. I've watched this back and forth. This is a juniors tournament, and this is a game to decide who goes on to, I think, the state finals as well, but this is still a trophy game. Oh wow, Marty, normally it's you tripping up on these names. The Bemidji.
That's why Marty and I are just sitting here in silence. We were like, yeah, let John tackle this.
Thanks for interrupting me once I thought I'd said it properly. The Bemidji State men's hockey team lost to Minnesota State 2-1 in overtime. The Mavericks, there's the easier name. The Mavericks scored an apparent game-winning goal in 3 minutes in overtime. So the game was tied up, went to overtime, and it looked like the Mavericks had scored this. Now, from here, I'm going to not read straight from this because I've actually watched the video and it's nuts. So, the goal goes in. The celebrations erupt on the ice. Everyone goes nuts. You get the big crowd round, and gloves and helmets and sticks and everything are thrown up into the air, and everything progresses. The losing team leave the ice, and the winning team kind of mill about for a while little tables are brought out, the trophies plonked down. So probably 5 or 6 minutes goes past, and finally a trophy presentation happens. So team, holds a trophy up, does their skate around, they do their 3 stars, the man of the match, the game-winning goal man of the match is awarded, and that's all fine, and the guys are ready to leave the ice. Except, while all of this is happening...
Surely the fans left as well.
So a lot of fans
had gone
they did everything.
So far. Fans had,
most
the fans had left the stadium.
Most of the arena was empty. Most of the arena was empty. Turns out during all this, the referees were reviewing the goal but didn't tell anyone. And as it turns out, it wasn't a goal because the net wasn't sitting correctly on the ice. The puck went underneath the net, underneath beyond the post at the side of the net, and into the back of the net, making it look like it had been a goal. So it was called back more than an hour after the phantom game-winning goal was scored, and they had to start playing again. 2 minutes into that overtime, after it continued, so we're now maybe 5-6 minutes into overtime, they actually scored. Different score this time, but the same team, the Mavericks, scored the goal, and the presentations were somewhat muted after that. The trophy was basically just thrown at them.
Was there even a presentation? I thought they just scored the goal, thanks very much, and went off the ice again.
I think the trophy was handed, but the biggest thing was there wasn't another man of the match given.
No.
So the man of the match stands as the guy who didn't score the game-winning goal, who actually scored an illegitimate goal completely. Now, the team result doesn't end, but the fact that it was over an hour, so they actually had to come back out and get them to do warm-ups again, because half the players were stripped down, cooled down. Half of them were probably in whatever they were going to wear to go home. I'm absolutely sure that a couple of the Mavericks players probably had a couple of beers as well.
Well, we'll not say that they were, because they were in, it's like,
College.
surely was it high school or university? Surely they were underage.
I don't know. There's bound to be something in there. There was light beers in the changing room, I'm sure.
Yes.
Drink responsibly, kids. They had a couple of Capri Suns. All right, they had a couple of Capri Suns. They were
Too many
feeling
Red
it,
Bulls.
had a bit of a buzz on, and it came out. But look, they still won the game. But it is one of the wildest.
Yeah.
There's a couple of different video sort of montages out there of it. We'll find one of them and we'll throw it up on the website. If you haven't seen this already, it is wild. And
How different
if
of a
that had
story
gone
would
the
it have
other
been
way-
if they had lost? Yeah.
if that had gone the other way, that's a totally different situation completely. But even then, it's imagine reviewing the goal for so long and then letting everything else happen. Why wouldn't those refs go and say something? It's like, guys, maybe calm down. Give us 10 minutes. We're actually reviewing this. Can you imagine the Challenge Cup? We won the Challenge Cup
It
in
happened then.
overtime, and there was a review. So can you imagine if, rather than the two teams standing on the ice the way that they did, all of us watching, and for the next 20 minutes, the refs were in there reviewing the goal, couldn't make a decision. Meanwhile, the Giants are awarded the Challenge Cup, and all of a sudden it's called back because we haven't actually won. Can you imagine? I mean, I think we'd be talking about this in very different terms, because obviously we're Giants
So what do you call
fans.
the guy that that got the winning goal?
Lake. No. Hang on, I'll tell you. It was Lake.
It was Ben Lake, yeah.
No, not our winning goal. The
Oh, for
winning
right,
goal.
okay.
For,
I'm
No
not sure.
idea.
The piece doesn't actually say who got the winner, and it doesn't say who got the goal that wasn't either. I just know from a video that I've seen it was a different score. So I don't know how you sort all that out, but that's what happened. And look, if you haven't watched it, go ahead and watch it. It's fantastic. Guys, is there anything else then for period 3? Because I think if not, that rounds us off on that period. I am very quickly going back through my phone because I've got to find something. That brings us on to the star segment. The star segment then is where we get to point out something or someone, a play, a goal, a person. Normally it's in hockey, but given a lot of the subject matter from our last podcast 3 weeks ago, I had a slightly different nomination last time. So last time there were only 2 nominations, both of which included me. So no matter what, I'm a winner here. My nomination was
Hold on.
Ukrainian.
I thought we weren't allowed to nominate twice.
No. Hang on. No. There's a story here.
You get it wrong. Yeah.
My nomination was Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky for everything that he's been doing over the last month and a half of the Russian invasion. He's been doing an absolutely sterling job. There was a fan nomination, which was me, for my performance, shall we say, on the shootout competition on the ice a few weeks ago. Interesting story, guys. Do you know what I was supposed to be doing on Saturday?
Saturday passed?
Yeah.
Did they call you for it on Saturday passed?
James Glover phoned me on Saturday and asked if I was going to be at the game, and I had to tell him that I was in COVID isolation. So the story currently is that they're going to try and reschedule it. I guarantee I'm going to get a phone call this weekend when I'm away.
Coffee instead.
So I am going to ask him, because after that, the only home games that are left are the final weekend, which I should be at. But there's still 2 shootouts to do. So there's my semi-final and the final. So I might have to ask him if I can nominate somebody to go on for me. Obviously, Marty, it would probably be you, because you're the one that I can probably guarantee will be at the game. So if you're willing, and look, if if it comes, if I get the call, and if James is okay with it, then you might be stepping up for me. Or I may have just screwed it all by announcing it here on the podcast. You never know.
Yes.
So that's my interesting story out the way. But I do want to confirm from the last competition that, in fact, I am the winner. And I am the winner through my nomination of Vladimir Zelensky. But let's be honest, he's the winner. Vladimir Zelensky is the winner. He took it with 86% of the vote. So yeah, he definitely.
It was a tough. It was a tough competition. Yeah.
I'm probably sure he'd probably beat me in the shootout competition as well. Let's be honest.
I love that there's still some votes went towards John. Anyway, I thought it could be 100%. But yeah,
I assume those are from Mark.
John, be honest. Did you vote for yourself?
I didn't.
He's created 4 Twitter accounts for himself.
I mean, yes and no. I didn't vote for myself. I mean, I voted for my nomination. I voted for Zelensky. But I mean, yes, I voted for me. Kind of weird. I didn't cast a vote on the Door 14 Twitter. I'll have you know though. I did. I left that because I thought that was a conflict of interest. If I'd taken control of the podcast Twitter and cast a vote that way. Guys, this time around, I have put down a nomination. It's currently the only nomination on the sheet. Considering what I've put down, I don't think we're going to get another nomination. And I think we can probably go from putting out a poll to actually just moving to announce the winner of this podcast's star segment. And we've talked about it a couple of times. It's Ben Lake.
Yep.
It's got to be Ben Lake. Challenge Cup overtime winner. First trophy of the season. Lifted on home ice. It's not going to be anyone else. You could have made an argument for Tyler Beskorowany during that game as well. Absolutely kept us in it. Even at 2 goals down, it could have been a lot worse. But there's only one guy can get a game-winning goal, and on that occasion, it was Ben Lake. So congratulations to Ben Lake. Yet again, I'm nominated it. I'm the winner. I mean, that's the repeat. That might even be the three-peat for me on the star segment. So, I mean, say what you will, but I know my stars. Marty, I don't think there's any overtime this time. Again, this is the second podcast in a row, no overtime.
Yeah, nothing for this week.
Unlike championship games across the world, there is no overtime.
No additional stories to talk about in the overtime segment, and nothing coming in on Twitter this week. So no questions to put to the group. So yes, no overtime segment, but we do have one segment left of this podcast. And it is one of our favourite segments. Hopefully he has it ready. He's looking like quite.
I do.
Oh yay! With that, then what we'll do is we'll move on to our last segment for the episode, and that is our ABCs of hockey.
John's already asleep.
Oh, what? Sorry.
So we are on
our.
I know, such a good tune.
Every time.
Our ABCs of hockey. I was looking over my shoulder there through that animation, because you can actually see over my shoulder the actual book of ABCs of hockey, which is on T. Can you see that?
That's incredible product placement. If only we were being sponsored by them.
If only. So we are on the letter S this week. And of course, just like any other week before I tell you what the letter S stands for in the ABCs of hockey, I want to throw it out there and see what you can come up with for S. Anything to do with
I mean, if
hockey.
You're talking Elite League and you're talking about some of our referees, it's got to be slashing.
Slashing.
Slap shot?
Marty?
Slap shot?
Slap shot. It is slashing.
Yeah.
Well done, John. So that was one of the things I was going to ask you. What's the referee calling for slashing?
I haven't done
And
anything.
John's
What was the question?
John, you show or you tell the world what the referee symbol for slashing is. Symbol.
We've seen it quite a lot from some Elite League referees, a couple in particular, but the slashing call is
that.
Do
you want to describe that?
For the audio listeners, can you describe it, please?
So, one arm is out in front of the referee, while the other one comes down in a downward sweeping motion to cross the forearm. and that is a slashing
Yes.
call.
Well done.
The
John,
referee will hold out one arm, using the other arm will make a chopping motion and contact the extended forearm.
There you go.
Marty, I thought you were going to say something there.
I was just going to say, slightly off topic, but still on topic. John, your knowledge and your use of the referee signal has been noted. A few people had mentioned to me at the weekend at the game. They were like, "I like the Twitter post that he's put up about the game being
Delete.
Yeah, it was very good.
So I just wanted to acknowledge that and say
I'm going to be
good job.
totally honest. I can't take any credit for the image or anything because I'm just a fantastic Googler. Like that's all I did was Google delay of game, and using my expert Photoshop skills, I managed to throw in our logo. So I mean, like, never mind your Matty Harvey's. Just if anyone's got any graphic design work they need done, you can look at some of my work on the Door 14 Instagram or the Door 14 Twitter. Just come at me. I mean, come at me with the
Give
right
John
money.
20 minutes on the
Come
Google.
at me with the right money, and you too can have some John Ford graphic design.
Amazing. You can sell them as NFTs. Aaron, sorry, back to you.
Yeah, so basically, it is slashing. Now, of course, I can't tell you what the official rule is for slashing on the EIHL because we don't have
None of the refs can tell you either because it changes game
no
to game.
no. So I do have the official NHL slashing rule text, which is Rule 61. There you go.
So close
So
to being a
close.
good rule. So close.
So close.
I really want to know what that rule is now. Never mind slashing.
We'll find that out for the next time. Slashing is the act of a player swinging his stick at an opponent, whether contact is made or not. Non-aggressive stick contact to the pant or front of the shin guards should be penalized as slashing.
You don't want to be touching your stick to somebody else's pants.
No, definitely not. Or stick to stick. That's just wrong. Not wrong. Oh no.
It's gone mad.
It's gone mad. It's all.
Sorry.
It's all gone wrong. A forceful and short. I can't continue. A forceful and powerful chop with the stick on an opponent's body, the opponent's stick, or near the opponent's hands, in the judgment of the referee, is not an attempt to play the puck, shall be penalised as slashing.
There you go.
Puck to puck, pant to pant, stick to stick, whatever it is, it's slashing.
Just to go back on your question, John. Rule number 69 in the NHL is interfering with a goalie, so it's goalie interference. Incidental contact with a goalkeeper will be permitted and resulting goals allowed when such contact is initiated outside of the goal crease, providing the attacker player has made a reasonable effort to avoid such contact. Otherwise, it's goalie interference, basically. Yeah, sorry.
So 69 is interfering with a goalie.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You can't get to the net.
None of us know where to go from here.
Thank you, Aaron. That was very knowledgeable as usual. So thank you very much. That takes us to the end of this week's episode and this week's podcast. And we'll just round off the way we normally do. Check out our previous episodes, this episode, and all the content we've talked about in this episode. All of the images on the jerseys and stuff we've talked about and videos will be on our website, door14hockey.com. Check out our social media channels, get involved, send us your nominations for Star of the Week, send us your questions, your comments, any stories that you see. We'll gladly take them. And you can check us out on all social media channels, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Door14Hockey. Check out our, if on your preferred choice of podcast provider, whatever that be, if you can, leave us a review and some nice things. Let us know what you think. And also it helps us with our ratings and all that sort of stuff and whatever else. So we appreciate that too. With that, I think that takes us to the end and we can happily sign off for this week. I'm Marty.
I'm John.
I'm Aaron.
Have a great week.